imagine this. Imagine you say that in late antique Judaism and Christianity and Latin, a Roman custom, the left hand was associated with evil. So they could say in theory, this report was made up because of these existing traditions. Or maybe the prophet just liked to eat with his right hand. Or maybe he was acting according to existing traditions that said that the left hand was associated with negativity. A good example of this is, again, it came with a debate I had it with Tom Holland. He wrote in his book, in the shade of the... Actually, I knew this because I was on this radio show with him, and he said this, and I couldn't believe it. He claims that the 5 daily prayers came from Zoroastrianism. What he means is that after the death of the prophet, in the early Islamic period, Muslims were like, hey guys, these Zoroastrians, they got these 5 daily prayers. Let's do it. That's basically his argument. I'm not trying to make fun of Tom Holland since it's getting recorded, and I'm sure I'm going to get in trouble for that. Georgetown professor makes fun of Tom Holland. I'm not making fun. I'm not saying he had, but that's basically the idea, right? You know, there's a conspiracy that sort of, again, this is orthodoxy, right? This wasn't the original form. This gets built up afterwards and then retroactively projected to the origins. What's his argument? And we'll get into this a bit next time, but you don't believe people when they talk about themselves. You can't believe a religious tradition's story of itself unless it's making itself look bad. Then you can believe it.
So, was that because they just couldn't fathom the fact that the religion itself was perfect, or
Yeah, because remember, the assumption is religions are not born intact.
It came from their experience with
With Christianity. And Judaism.
So they couldn't understand.
And by the way, lots of things in Islam were not, there's lots of things in Islamic law and dogma and stuff that were not there originally. And Muslim scholars acknowledge all of this. Of course, there weren't madhabs, there weren't schools of theology, there wasn't kalam, there wasn't ilm al-hadith, there wasn't fiqh, all these things. But, so what is Tom Holland's argument, okay? He says that there's a rabbi in the late 700s in central Iraq who says some Zoroastrians, when they became Muslim, they continued to practice existing traditions. It doesn't say they continued to practice 5 daily prayers. In fact, it's actually talking about drinking. That report doesn't appear, it's not like we have that rabbi's diary. It appears in a 12th century work in France, written by a rabbi in France, which is actually a 18th and 19th century forgery. That's his source, okay? So what he's saying is, I'm going to believe a 19th century forged book that claims to be a 12th century rabbi making a report from an 8th century rabbi in Iraq that says that Zoroastrian converts who became Muslim continued drinking. No mention of the 5 daily prayers. That is revisionism, i.e., as long as it's not from Muslims or whatever it comes from, it's true. And even if that chain of reasoning is a lot crazier, look, we know that Islam took up a pre-existing practices. The Quran says, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْقُرْآنَ الصَّوْمُ كَمَا الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Fasting is ordained for you, as it was ordained from those before you. The Hajj, all this stuff is pre-Islamic. Maybe the 5 daily prayers were a custom that the Zoroastrians have. But the Prophet adopted this into Islam. So it's a legitimate part of the religion. Instead of, why is that such an outrageous idea? That's a perfect example of revisionism gone wild. It sounds like a good TV show.